Okay, we'll call to order the public meeting of the Butler County Board of Commissioners. And would you please rise for a moment of silent prayer, all from the Pledge of Allegiance. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amy, public comment?
Yes, sir. We have several. I'd like to remind all speakers to please state their name and their municipality of residence, and you'll be given 3 minutes to speak. First on the list, Peggy Abersole.
Morning, Commissioners. Peggy Abersole, Middlesex Township. This weekend, there's a couple things happening in Butler County. This Saturday and Sunday, the Butler County Historical Society will bring local history alive by conducting a cemetery walk entitled The Echoes from Our Past. The tours will be held at 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. this Saturday and 2 p.m. on Sunday. However, just please note that today is the last day to purchase tickets, as no tickets will be available the day of the event. For more information and to purchase your tickets, you need to go online at butlerhistory.com, www.butlerhistory.com. This Sunday is also the 16th annual Alameda Fall Festival. The event will run from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. It will start at 9 a.m. with a Scoot and Toot 5K walk or run. Also, craft and vendor show will start at 9. At 10 a.m. there will be a Fall Fest car cruise. At noon there will be Alameda Youth Fishing Tournament. Just bring the family out and have some fun, and hopefully we won't get a washout like we did this past Saturday with the Butler Festival. Third, please mark your calendars for Saturday, October 5th, for the 16th annual farm tour. The tour will run from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. You will be able to tour 3 farms: the Harlow Farms, owned and operated by Harold Fortune family, Dave Jones Farm, and the Thiel Family Farm. In addition to the farms, Rustic Acres Winery and the Winfield Winery are welcoming you to visit them. On the farm tour, don't forget to pick up your farm tour passport, have it stamped at all 3 farms so you can enter the door prize drawing. If you need additional information, please feel free to contact the Conservation District Office or the Cooperative Extension Office. Thank you.
Next is Matthew Deck.
My name is Matthew Deck. I'm from Butler County. Several weeks ago, I guess it was 2 or 3 meetings ago, was the last time I was here, and I was not permitted to complete what I was about to say. Yet nevertheless, with the assistance of some other concerned citizens, it was videotaped outside this courthouse. It can be viewed at asrpcp.org on YouTube. Once again, these issues have not been addressed. I really don't see any even point in attempting to address the issues which concern many citizens, which is why I was asked why I did not come back up on here again. No, it's not because they scared me away. I was down in North Carolina shooting in a studio, a videotaping that's going to be going on a show reaching 40 million households, the Caribbean and Australia, and I may be getting a TV show based upon political corruption and the federal, state, and local levels of which these people shall be stars. For those of you who are interested in what's going on, including the other, how should we say, interesting information I found out as pertaining under this county, on Saturday, this Saturday at 2 p.m., I will be on the courthouse steps. It will be videotaped. And you're all invited to be there to learn exactly what's going on in this county, for there is a third political party that is out, and it's time we get rid of a lot of these people via write-ins to show them we don't even need to be on a ballot box. We the people are sick and tired of what's occurring in this county, state, and country. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thanks, Matt.
Next is Mark Krenitsky.
Morning, Commissioner. A couple things I was interested in. As you know, I run in Alameda Park quite often. There is a gun range as you go in. you do hear gunfire, it's Pennsylvania State Police. There's no way that they can hit anybody, but on the rails and trails, there's a warning about that. I'm thinking maybe in Alameda Park, we could have a warning that it is a state police, there's no danger. It's just not somebody shooting randomly. I do like, as Commissioner McCary said, that the county is only $49 million in debt, or a little less. I'd like to say down to 0, to be honest. I know you two would also. And like I said before, that's what concerns me about spending our $15 million to build another building. That's really my only concern about the building. County employees, Commissioner Eckstein, about parking. I don't want to say I endorse the parking garage. I just think we need more parking for county employees. I have a hard time parking here in my houses that are close to the building before 4:30. 4:30 is amazing, it's wide open. Anytime before 4:30, it's kind of hard. And also, I've said, as long as, I know Commissioner Pinkerton has too, about selling Sunnyview. I never thought the union would come forward to reach an agreement, maybe so it wouldn't lose money. I was surprised by that. If you can do that, that's great. If we can get to the point where Sunnyview doesn't lose money, that's fine with me. Hey, thank you guys. Have a nice morning.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark, I'd just like to say this. The most current thing I got, the building is supposed to cost like $12.2 million, but when you finance it, it's up to $20 million. You said about $15 million. If you include the payments, which I do when I buy a pickup truck, you know, it's up to $20 million if it goes through, okay, not 15.
When's the last time you bought a truck, Commissioner?
I just bought one. My transmission went bad. I got a new good used truck. Thanks for asking. It's red too.
All right, we have minutes to consider our September 9th meeting and our September 11th meeting. Is there any objections or corrections to those minutes?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion to approve them. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, no. The minutes are approved.
We have no old business this morning, Mr. Chairman. Under proclamations, we have 2 proclamations. The first is for the 10th anniversary of the Reality Tour Drug Prevention Program, October 3rd, 2013. Whereas the nonprofit Candle Inc.'s Reality Tour Drug Prevention Program that started in Butler, PA in 2003 is celebrating 10 years of drug prevention education delivered to over 8,500 Butler County parents and their children during a decade in which substance abuse statistics have been climbing and drug trends have been ever-changing and growing more deadly. And whereas volunteers from the community have been staffing Butler's monthly reality tours for 10 years, representing thousands of hours of service, to deliver an educational, consequence-driven program that puts parent and child on the same page in regards to the dangers of drug experimentation and addiction. And whereas Butler's reality tour has progressed to national evidence-based status and is listed on SAMHSA's National Registry of Evidence-Based Program and Practices, and the reality tour is now replicated in 10 states. And whereas Candle Inc. will celebrate the 10th anniversary of the Reality Tour Drug Prevention Program with an open house from 12 noon to 2 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on October 3rd at Monarch Place, which is located at 100 Grew Avenue in Butler. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Butler County Commissioners do hereby deem it fitting and proper to proclaim our gratitude to the nonprofit Candle Inc. as they celebrate the special occasion of the 10th anniversary of the Reality Drug Tour Prevention Program. And here to accept the proclamation is Norma Norris from Candle Inc.
Norma, thank you for all the work that you have done through this organization and all the good things that have come out of this. I know you work very hard at it. It's the passion of your life, and we appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I would like to say a few words about this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Anyone who knows me knows that
10 seconds is not enough. So I do want to take the time to say all of the what-ifs that had to come in place for this program to happen that were coming into place 10 years ago. The first what-if is, what if our now judge, Tim McCune, who had been district attorney at the time, hadn't told it like it was to the citizens of Butler County. It was when I heard him doing a radio interview about how bad drug abuse was getting and how many young people we were using at that time to heroin that I became involved. What if Pat Cannon, county detective 10 years ago, hadn't been going around to church basements willing to talk to as few people as showed up, maybe 10 or 12 to as many as 50, and came and took care of the law enforcement part of Reality Tour for many years? What if Jennifer Roxbury, who was in leadership at Butler County through the Chamber of Commerce, hadn't started Butler County Against Heroin at that time? What if GM David, president of Seropnis, hadn't chosen prevention as her president's project for that year? What if John Wolczewski, working at the local radio station, had not organized a week-long series interviewing judges, police officers, district attorneys, youth who are addicted to drugs, as well as their parents, in a week-long radio series that really launched this community's action behind prevention and made it much easier to organize a reality tour and deliver a consequence-driven program. This program has been held monthly. Now it's 2 times a month. We've had to establish a second location in Mars. This has been going on for the past 10 years. We've had approximately 170 reality tours in this community. It's a 3-hour intervention for parents with children aged 10 and up. That represents over 25,000 hours of prevention delivered to residents in this community. It also represents 10,000 hours of volunteers from the community of Butler. Now, in the proclamation, it said we're in 10 other states as well. Every time I introduce this program in other communities, I am bringing back what happened here in Butler County and what kind of strength we have in this community. It turns out we can be replicated in other communities. There's a lot of good citizens all across this country, but I still uphold the example that was put forth from this community. I want to take the time to recognize our school partnerships that really drill down prevention so that we are delivering prevention to a lot of 6th grade students and parents every single month. Knox Middle School, under the direction of Assistant Principal Richard Cabot at that time, came aboard as our pilot partner school to see how this was going to work. And since that time, we've added more partner schools. Most recently, Seneca Valley School District set the attendance record for Reality Tour. Now, as everyone knows, it's a big school district. We target their 6th grade. There's 500 students in 6th grade. Out of that total 6th grade population in 2012 to 2013, 42% of that entire grade level came to Reality Tour. So parent and child experienced a 3-hour intervention. That isn't happening anywhere else in the country, those kinds of numbers. And it is because the school district is so invested that every one of those 6th grade teachers signs up for a 10 with the teacher night at Reality Tour, and they're there with their students, their students and their parents. It is this type of resolution coming from the county at all levels that is important for prevention. I wish I could say things are getting better, things are getting more complex with the introduction of designer drugs, and you're going to be hearing more about that in the coming months and the coming years. I want to end with how it impacts youth. One of the quotes I like best is a Seneca Valley student, 12-year-old, wrote on his survey, "You changed my life forever," exclamation point. I didn't know drugs were this bad. 12 years old, he wasn't using drugs, didn't know how bad they were. 16-year-old last month, who was mandated by our courts. Many of our local district justices will mandate youth to attend Reality Tour. A 16-year-old said, after being at this program, I'm done with drugs. And just last week, a volunteer who helped start Reality Tour contacted me and said she was talking with her now 23-year-old son, and he was in the opening peer pressure scene 10 years ago. He's now graduated from school and has a career. And many of his friends chose a different path in high school and later in college, abusing drugs and alcohol. But she said, I said to my son, you've made the right choices. What caused you to do that? Because that's interesting to parents. We want to know what causes the bad things, but also what causes the good things to happen. And his response was, I never forgot what I learned at Reality Tour. It's important that we educate parent and child together, and I want the county to know that my door is always open for school districts that do want to form a partnership and do want to begin to educate their parents and their kids, because we know that that's the most powerful tool, our parents. It's a very underutilized tool, and in today's world, parents can't be that most powerful tool until they themselves are educated. It is not enough to just tell your child to say no. We teach kids to see beyond the next 10 minutes. We teach parents to see beyond the next 10 minutes. And I thank you for the support that this county has shown us, and for all of those out there in the community that have been part of this, whether it's a large part or a small part, it was all very integral parts. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norma.
Our next proclamation is for Mental Illness Awareness Week, October 6th through 12th, 2013. Whereas serious mental illnesses affect 1 in every 4 people annually, and whereas serious mental illnesses are more common than cancer, diabetes, and heart disease, and are the #1 reason for hospital admissions nationwide, and whereas recovery is possible for people with mental illness, and whereas scientific research is producing tremendous breakthroughs in the understanding of mental illnesses, resulting in more effective treatments that allow people to reclaim full and productive lives. And whereas community support and understanding is vital to mental health recovery. And whereas misunderstandings exist among many mental illnesses, and our social culture often wrongly imposes stigma on them. Now therefore be it resolved, we, the Butler County Commissioners, do hereby deem it fitting and proper to proclaim October 6th through 12th as Mental Illness Awareness Week, to increase public awareness of mental illness and to promote greater understanding for those who suffer from the potentially disabling symptoms of these disorders. Signed, the Board of Commissioners, and to accept this proclamation today is Betty Peoples from the Grapevine Center.
Betty, thank you for all you do. You're a cornerstone in mental health work in Butler County. You've been here, I'm not even going to say how many years.
Yeah, you did say
You have certainly done so much for the mental health people in Butler County, and we're so proud of you and what you do. We're happy to present you with this proclamation.
Thank you. Thanks.
Would you like to say a few words?
How about a Kodak moment?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Esteemed Commissioners, as a person in recovery from mental illness, who at one point in my life would have preferred to live at a state hospital rather than in the community, it is with great gratitude and honor that I accept this proclamation declaring the week of October 6th through October 12th, 2013 as Mental Illness Awareness Week in Butler County. The aim of Mental Health Week is to promote social and emotional well-being to the community, encouraging people to maximize their health potential, enhancing the coping capacity of communities, families, individuals to increase mental health recovery. And mental illness is any disorder that interferes with or limits a person's ability to live, work, learn, and participate in his or her community. Mental illness and intellectual disabilities are not the same. Mental illness affects a person's thinking, mood, and behavior, whereas those with an intellectual disability experience limitations in intellectual functions and difficulties with certain daily living skills. Mental illness is not a sign of personal recovery or lack of willpower. People with a mental illness cannot simply overcome it and get better on their own. Mental illness affects almost every individual in some way. 1 in 4 adults, which is approximately 13.6 million Americans, experience mental illness in any given year. 20% of youth aged 13 to 18 experience mental illness in any given year. 9.2 million adults have co-occurring mental health and addiction disorders. 26% of homeless adults staying in shelters experience mental illness, while 46% of all homeless live with mental illness. 20% of state prisoners and 21% of local jail prisoners have a recent history of a mental health condition. And 70% of youth in juvenile justice systems have at least one mental health condition, and 20% live with a mental illness. Getting mental health treatment in America. Approximately 60% of adults and almost 1/2 of youth 8 to 15 with a mental illness received no mental health services in the previous year. Oftentimes, there are long delays between the first appearance of symptoms and when people get help. This results in costing America $193.2 billion in lost earnings per year. And also, it results in adults living with a mental illness die on the average 24 years earlier than other Americans, largely due to treatable medical conditions. Recovery can be a reality, but only if a person seeks successful treatment and support. It is critical for a person to seek mental health care when they need it. It is equally important for every citizen to be informed about the symptoms of mental illness and the treatment options that are available. As Executive Director of Grapevine Center, a nonprofit recovery resource located at 140 North Elm Street in the city of Butler, I see individuals every day that confront stigma and work very hard to not only recover themselves, but to assist others as well. The Center's vision of blending good people with better choices for the best recovery is meant to indicate that we cannot do this alone and that we are not alone. People with mental illness and their families contribute to the rich fabric of our Butler County community. Every day, including holidays, Grapevine Center offers individuals a place to come where they can be accepted as who they are. Individuals can learn about their mental illness, find ongoing support, and are given the opportunity to volunteer and help others. Other services Grapevine Center offers are assistance with moving, a warm line where one can find someone who will listen, and a consumer family satisfaction team that interviews individuals and family members who have or are currently receiving mental health and drug and alcohol services in Butler County. Results from these surveys are given to the local providers, the state, the managed care organizations, and to the individuals who are receiving the services, which gives them the opportunity to have their voices heard in order to improve services. Our Certified Peer Specialist program offers one-on-one support to individuals. This service is licensed by the state and is billable to Medicaid. An expansion of our Certified Peer Specialist program to start soon we will be starting a forensic Certified Peer Specialist program with the help of a $25,000 grant from Staunton Farms and some help from the county. Grapevine Center works in collaboration with many other agencies of Butler County. Even in difficult financial times, Butler County continues to provide a continuum of mental health services that individuals can access to recovery. You might ask yourself, how can I help? Here are a few of the ways. Encourage individuals you know to seek treatment. Volunteer your services at one of the providers offering treatment. Attend Recovery and Remembrance Rally October 8th from 11:30 to 1 p.m. at St. Peter's, where we will honor those individuals in recovery and remember those that we have lost. Attend a forum where our new Deputy Secretary of Mental Health, Dennis Marion, wants to hear what issues of mental health are important to us. This opportunity will be on October 10th at St. Peter's Social Hall, or at Western Region Community Support, October 11th at 10 a.m. at Tanglewood. accept and encourage individuals with mental illness to serve on community boards and committees, offer or assist an individual trying to find work, and attend one of the trainings on mental health first aid provided by Butler County Human Services that is scheduled to be held once a month beginning in November. In conclusion, it is my hope that this proclamation will increase community awareness. I believe it will chip away at the wall of stigma, too often an unnecessary barrier on one's road to recovery. I would like to thank you for your efforts in issuing this proclamation. Individuals are welcome to come to the Grapevine Center at 140 North Elm Street to become a member, to visit, or volunteer. Please call 724-283-1704 for additional information about the services we offer. Butler County Human Services can be contacted for any additional information on the continuum of mental health services that are currently offered in Butler County.
Thank you, Betty.
Under new business, Janine Kennedy from Community Action and Development has asked to be moved up on the agenda in order to attend the meeting. So Janine Kennedy.
Good morning. We are requesting approval to enter into a contract with Armstrong County Community Action for the 2013-2014 Work Ready Program. Term of the contract is October 1st, 2013 to September 30th, 2014, and the amount is $103,013. We ask for approval.
Is there a motion?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
We are requesting approval to enter into contracts with the following agencies for services provided under the HOPE program. Term of the contracts are October 1st, 2013 to September 30th, 2014. Center for Community Resources, $141,541, and Catholic Charities, $29,275. We ask your approval.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Janine.
Returning to the agenda as written, emergency services, Steve Weishaus.
Morning, Commissioners. Two items for your consideration today. First is an approval of maintenance contract with CenturyLink for the 911 switch at the Communication Center. As you'll probably remember, it was here 6 months ago for the same contract, same terms, $11,515.70. The reason that we're going with a 6-month contract is the West Core project is moving a little more closer to being a reality for us. We're hopeful that we will volunteer to get the first switch in the West Core regions. We're hopeful that that switch will be installed before this contract is up. So if the switch is installed in the meantime in this 6-month period, this contract is no longer void, and we'll go with the current maintenance agreement for the new switch. So I ask for your approval on that.
Make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Steve, question, how many people are in the West Core again? How many counties are in that?
Right now, there's 11 counties.
11 counties,
that are in
okay.
West Core. We anticipate that number increasing. There are a couple counties in the area that have newer style phone switches and don't have the need to join right now, today, but in a couple of years they'll be. So there's 11.
Okay, thanks.
The second item I ask for approval is a maintenance contract renewal with NetMotion for what NetMotion provides is a VPN, a virtual private network for our mobile data terminals into the police cars. What this allows for the data that we transmit that they request for driver's license information or plate information to be transmitted encrypted, so nobody can intercept that data and decode it. This is required under the FBI. They require a setup like this. This contract, I'd like to do a 2-year contract at $6,600. I believe after the end of 2 years, I'll have, as technology is changing, we might be able to do a more, a solution that we can administer ourselves. So I'd ask for your approval on that.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Steve, one question. Did you borrow this shirt from Commissioner Pickerton?
So false.
Next, Commissioners, under prison, we're asking for your approval of Amendment 4 of the contract with Trinity Services, Canteen Correctional Services, for the prison's food service. This is at the recommendation of Prison Board, and is to provide an amendment to the contract to allow for a la carte pricing on any items that an individual inmate might be required to be provided above a normal meal. We ask your approval.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
The next item under the prison is the approval of an agreement with Fayette County to house their inmates at Butler County Prison. This is at a per diem rate of $60 per inmate per day, and this comes from the recommendation of Prison Board. We ask your approval.
I'll make the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. Next items under Human Services, Children and Youth Agency, Ann Brown.
Aye.
Morning, Ann.
Morning, Ann.
First items I have are asking the approval of some contracts for children who are on probation for the fiscal year 2013-14. They're with Center for Community Resources, Janice Now, Dennis McCurdy, Mark Snyder, and Jeff Wolf. Ask your approval of those contracts.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Is there a discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Next, ask your approval of a reappointment of Angela Schnorr to the Children's Youth Advisory Board for a 3-year term expiring October of 2016.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ann.
Next, under Information Technology, Bob Moy.
Good morning.
Morning, Bob. You're not quite as bright as, you're close.
It wasn't even funny.
You shouldn't talk about people's intelligence here, Bill.
I'm here to ask permission to enter, enter into an agreement with Alternative Network Solutions in Washington, VA, to provide us improved backup system for our data. Right now, we have 2 sites and we control it all ourselves. The software is getting more expensive, the servers have to be replaced. This company will provide the service, and not only have the alternative sites within the county, but they have 2 off-site computer rooms, one in Reading, Pennsylvania, and the other one in Salt Lake City. See, I did check it out. Initial cost is going to be $20,000 for the servers. Our capital budget already has $28,000 in it to replace the existing servers, so that money will be covered. And the annual fee is approximately $23,000 a year. But right now, we're paying $18,000 a year for the same, for what we have. This is much more improved, gives us quicker response to return backups and things like that.
And you did get pricing this year, you had 2 quotes, is that correct? I thought you had one for Iron Mountain.
No, I do not.
I'm sorry, I'm mistaken. Okay, is there a motion to approve this?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that. How long is this again? I'm sorry, how long is it for again? Bob?
3-year agreement.
3 year, okay, I forgot to write that down. Okay, thanks.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
Next, under Bridge Program, Kevin Gray.
Morning, Commissioner.
Morning, Kevin.
This morning I'll be asking for you to make an adjustment to the utility agreement with Penn Tire on the Nell Bridge project, which is located in Jackson Township. The actual cost of the electric movement was $18,285.08. So we are asking for the adjustment to that amount. This has already been approved by PennDOT. This is part of the TIP project, which 80% is federally funded, 15% is state funded, and 5% is county funded, and the county share would be $914.25.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Discussion?
I'm glad we're sharing the cost.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thanks.
Thanks, Kevin.
The first item under Commissioners, we're asking your approval of an architectural services contract with Foremost Group Incorporated for the Cranberry Magisterial District Justice Office Project in Cranberry Township.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Last item, Commissioners, we're asking your adoption of Resolution 2013-19, an inducement resolution. This is the first step in the extension of the tax increment financing district for the Butler Center City project.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries.
That's all for new business, sir.
Motion to approve the budgetary transfers.
So moved.
Is there a second?
I'll second
Those in favor say aye.
that. Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Motion to approve the new hires. Oh, I'm sorry,
There are none.
Oh, strike that. Motion to approve the travel requests.
I'll make it.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Motion to approve the requisitions.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Motion to approve the check register.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries. Reports, Jim?
Okay. I would like to comment today on a front page story in the Butler Eagle from September 19th, 2013. Michelle Green says Eckstein mistreated her. Who is Michelle Green? She is administrative assistant to Joyce Ainsworth, who heads up Children and Youth Services. Is it a coincidence that her boss, Joyce Ainsworth, filed an EEOC complaint against me, making her plush improper travel expenses public? And now her assistants filed a complaint against me to cover up her insubordination. The public will have to make that decision on their own. These allegations have no merit, period. The reason I went to CYS in the first place was to research the firing of an 18-year veteran caseworker at CYS, Lori Kubley, by Joyce Ainsworth and Human Services Head Carmen Scotis. That's one of my duties as County Commissioner, to make sure employees are treated justly. How did I get to there? I went to the personnel to get Lori Kubley's time card for the 2-week time period of her dismissal. Personnel said the time cards for her current year are kept in each department. All subsequent time cards in personnel after that year are kept in personnel, but the current year is not kept there. I was told by personnel that Miss Green was the contact person for those cards. I rode the elevator down to the 5th floor to the 2nd floor and asked the receptionist if Miss Green was there. She said Miss Green was in a meeting and would be available in 15 minutes. I went back down to CYS in about a half an hour, and the receptionist asked the receptionist if I could see Miss Green. She called her and said she called her and she came on. CYS has limited access office space, so you can't walk right in. They have to let you into their main office. I told Ms. Green that I was researching Lori Kubley's dismissal, and I would like to have a copy of the 2013 time card, a direct violation of the time card. She refused access to that information, which is a direct violation of county code. People management can, above the people can see it. I have access to that. If you have 18 years experience and you don't know that, that's not good. I told her I was required to give that information. I told her that verbally, right there in the lobby of CYS. That information is also available to the public under the Right to Know Act. Ms. Green has over 15 years of experience. She erroneously told me that she had to ask Ms. Ainsworth, her boss, and she said she was at a meeting in Human Services office down the hall. We took the next 10 seconds, and Ms. Green and I walked down the hall from CYS to the Human Services office, 10 seconds. I initiated small talk in those 10 seconds. We arrived in the waiting area at Human Services. She told me to wait here. I told her no, I wouldn't. In hindsight, I should have told her, no thank you, but I did not, okay? We walked about 7 seconds into Mr. Scotise's office, and she knocked on the door of the office to tell him I was there. I did not talk to Miss Green in that 7 seconds. I asked Miss Ainsworth for the time card, which was in our office in CYS possession. She refused me access to the time card. Mr. Scotise backed her up on that. He just sat there and didn't do anything. She refused me. She told me that Lori Altman would have to grant access. She was on vacation and going to come back in like 4 days. These actions were in direct violation of county code. In disgust, I asked Ms. Ainsworth if she would accept the solicitor's ruling on the matter, and she said yes. I went back up to my office complex and talked to the solicitor. He granted me access to the time card, which the general public also has access to. Approximately 15 minutes later, the time card was brought to me. Now, in the newspaper article on Armstrong Table, Bill McCarrier said I terrorized Michelle Green. And in my view, terrorist sounds like, does this sound like terrorism to you? I terrorized her? You know, terrorism is a criminal act. Bill McCarrier thinks it is. Bill McCarrier makes public statements like I'm crazy. And during the height of the Jerry Sandusky trial, Bill McCarrier informed the press he got an anonymous phone call that I was calling up and harassing lifeguards at Alameda Pool. I thought to myself, what is my wife going to think? Well, this is total fabrication. The kicker was, it wasn't young female lifeguards, it was young male lifeguards. He did this, the press is asking me, and he told them that he had an anonymous phone call, said I was harassing young male lifeguards during the height of the Jerry Sandusky problem, okay? Now he thinks this is funny. These guys think this is funny. The press asked me this during an open public meeting. How low will Bill McCarrier and Dale Pinkerton go to defame my character? There is no limit. They're lower than pond scum. And the irony here is Dale Pinkerton is suing me for defamation of his character. Judge Yeager turned Pinkerton into the Attorney General's office, not me. The Court of Common Pleas is letting this sham perpetuate to rape me and my kids of their college money. It's political retribution to make me conform to the status quo. I will not conform. Then it's been the norm in Butler County for so long, and I'm trying to reform that norm. The norm is entitlement, flagrant spending, and debt. Until the voters remove me from office, not when Bill McCarrier, I'm not leaving. Not when Dale McCarrier and Judge Durr think I should go. It's when the voters want me to go, okay? That's the way the system works. Bill McCarrier took it upon himself in this case to write me a letter of reprimand. Mr. McCarrier is not in charge of me. I'm an elected official. His reprimand is meaningless. And the letter only satisfies his own ego. These are false allegations, absolutely false. Internal confidential personal information should not have been leaked to the taxpayer, the press. I only sent this email out to 4 people. The email went out to Mike English, Amy Wilson, Lori Altman, and Bill McCarrier. I asked Mike English if he let it go. He said no, and I believe him. I didn't leave it out. Amy Wilson, I don't believe Amy Wilson left it out, and I don't believe Lori Altman did it. That leaves Bill McCarrier. He can talk to that. He can tell us if he released it to the press, or his buddy Steve Hively. He can tell us that. We can't have 2 standards. The personnel things kept quiet, or the commissioners leaking it to the press. Take your point. Make up your mind what you're going. Just go ahead and tell us here how it got to Steve Hively, okay? Thank you very much.
Bill?
Okay, I actually have 2 reports today. This past summer, the Butler County Commissioners have reached out to our local legislators representing Butler County to encourage our support of the transportation funding needed to support the infrastructure projects to keep pace with economic opportunities that bring jobs to our region. Now we are asking you to do the same. Folks, our county is ranked 6th nationally in job growth and likely one of the most dynamic regions in the Commonwealth. State funding revenues that we pay to maintain our roads and bridges in Pennsylvania have not been adjusted for inflation since the partial adjustment in 1997. Costs to build and maintain our roads and bridges have risen by 63% since then. Our state legislators left Harrisburg in July without resolving the transportation funding bill. Because of no bill being passed to provide funding for bridges and roads, our Commonwealth lost an entire construction season to repair and maintain transportation infrastructure we currently have, and lost many jobs as well. Legislators returned this past Monday, September 23rd, to Harrisburg, and there is talk that they plan to vote on some type of transportation funding. Butler County has 7 state-owned bridges and 7 locally owned bridges that will be posted for weight reductions. State-owned bridges on Clearfield Road, Ziegler Avenue, Winfield Road, Lardentown Road, McElmont Road, and Bronzedale Road will be posted by PennDOT if they have not already been done. County-owned bridges on Pipestone Road, McShane Road, Brewer Road, Victory Road, Guyville Road, Taggart Road, and Nesbitt Avenue in Petrolia Borough will all be posted for weight reductions. Our county planning department is well aware of the issues and has been fielding telephone calls from Sonneborn Incorporated over the posting of the bridge in Petrolia Borough. This bridge is owned by Petrolia Borough, and we are busy to work on a solution for the community to enable the bridge to remain open for traffic. That aside, Cranberry Township in southern Butler County has alone identified nearly $132 million worth of transportation enhancement projects that will be needed over the next 20 years to support our anticipated growth. Folks, transportation funding speaks beyond just funding and building roads and bridges. This issue speaks to also investing in the public safety and welfare, investing in economic development, and sustaining the economic growth that has come into our county. Part of the problem is we didn't accurately maintain our existing transportation system. Maintaining our transportation infrastructure is a core service of government, and we need to figure out a way to pay for it. Our state legislatures do not want to raise taxes, and we are not advocating for a tax increase by any means. However, our state legislators need to come up with a sustainable mechanism and formula for funding transportation and supporting the growth and development of our growing community. We need to contact our local legislators and ask them what their plan is in sustaining transportation funding into the future. And then, as I always try, I try to do something positive in our community. And at around 9:45 Saturday morning on September 14th, I received a phone call asking me to be part of the dedication of the new building for the Lick Hill Volunteer Fire Department. This fire department has roughly 47 volunteer firemen and women. They had an ongoing problem with storage space for their equipment, and they decided to build a new building. This new building would allow a place to store their ladder trucks and make it more accessible for getting in and out of fires, allowing them to be more efficient. Home Depot sold them all the products for the building at their cost. Then Home Depot sent their crew, and they helped with the painting of the inside of their building and helped with their new remodeling their restrooms. Several organizations, and this is where Butler County is great, help with the new construction by donating not only their time, but also their own people to do jobs such as the concrete work, moving the ground, the architectural part. Foremost Group Architectural volunteered to draw up the plans for the 32 by 60 building. Travis Altmaier Construction used his entire crew from Tuesday through Saturday. All his people were there, and I saw them. They were up there on their roof, pounding nails in. It was unbelievable. And they constructed that whole building, 32 by 60 in those 4 days. HT Construction, Mark Thomas Excavating, AKL Landscaping were significant volunteers in this project also, each one donating their people and their time. Along with taking care of the stone, Joe Weiss generously donated the stone and blacktop. It's amazing, folks, what can be accomplished when capable and generous people like we have in Butler County get together. We all have a lot to be proud of. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dale. Commissioner Eckstein's reports seem to take two themes. He tells people how wonderful he is and how bad everybody else in the county is, especially Dale and I. That seems to be his major theme. This morning, of course, he attacked me mercilessly, and most of it is not true. Maybe none of it is, I don't know. But Jim seems to believe that because he is a county commissioner, he is exempt from rules, regulations, and policies that apply to other county employees. He seems to think that common protocols of civility and decency that are normal in the workplace do not apply to him because of his position. He has a record of harassing employees and embarrassing them in public, especially females, employees such as Joyce and Amy and Julie and Kim and Michelle and Judy and Diane. All county employees submit travel requests, and they have to be signed by the department head, by the chief clerk, and by 2 of the 3 commissioners. Not Jim. He doesn't have to have his signed. He blanks his out so nobody else can sign them. These are the travel requests. These are what Jim fills out, and then he blocks them out so nobody can sign them, so they can't be approved or disapproved. Either way. He's exempt from the policies that apply to all other employees. He claims he wants open, transparent government. Is that the honest and transparent government when he does things like that? He says he wants cost savings in our government, but he is constantly and continually submitting frivolous right-to-know requests. He recently submitted one wanting the time cards or time sheets for all the administrative assistants in the county going back to 1996, I believe. Judy Snyder, who's no longer here. What possible good can that serve, other than to use a lot of employee time needlessly? He recently submitted one where he wants confidentiality agreements from people who worked in the children and youth going back many years. What possible good can that serve, other than to use a lot of employee time needlessly? What's the purpose of that? He's never made that clear. He wasted 2 weeks of employee time at the Tourism Bureau, looking up invoices so that he and his assistant could get out and look through them. What possible good does that serve? This latest episode, which he mentioned this morning concerning Michelle, terrorism, if you look it up in the dictionary, it has many, many meanings. Terrorism, to me, in this case, is when an employee was terrified. Terrorism comes from the word terrified, or vice versa. This employee was terrified, and he claims that she was not. There are witnesses to that. He says that I sent him an email which had no meaning. He's right. It did not have any meaning because I don't have any authority over Commissioner Eckstein or Commissioner Pinkerton. However, the state labor relation law says that when an employee files a complaint, somebody has to respond to it. And so I responded to that, and in turn, I got a 5 or 6 page email from him covering everything from A to Z that I've ever done wrong. Including, I think once I maybe spit on the floor when I shouldn't or something like that. He covered everything. He seems to have a focus on the second floor. And I think some of us who are on the know, we know why that is. No one understands other than those working in this government center, can understand the constant magnitude of challenges associated with dealing with Commissioner Eckstein's dysfunctional behavior on a daily basis. Our employees do their work, and I want the public to know that many of you have shared that they think that this spectacle is funny, but as a commissioner, it is not funny. The time waste is just horrendous coming from his office. He takes his associate or his assistant everywhere with him. And that's not her fault, that's at his command. The rest, Dale and I do not do that because our assistants have so much other work to do back here at the office. Many of our employees are feeling demoralized in light of these events for almost the past 2 years. I know this because they have come to me and told me this. If Commissioner Eckstein were not an elected official, he would be subject to employee discipline. However, in the light of the fact that he is a county employee, a county elected official, the county's options to curb his behavior are zero. He is an elected official, and we can do nothing to curb this behavior. Butler County is a great place. He constantly talks about how bad things are. Why are people moving to Butler County? Why are we the only county that's growing? Why are industries moving? And you just read this week where PPG is moving hundreds of employees into Butler County. Because it's a great place, and we will continue to keep it that way. Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? I'll second it. Those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Tom.
Yes, thank you. Before I get into Commissioner's comments, what's the status of the salary study? That was originally due in April.
The salary study was held up not because of the contractor that we had engaged to do this, but because the counties that we were surveying were delaying returning their surveys. So that's one of the reasons. We received the study in July 29th. We reviewed it with the contractor, all the commissioners, and our chief clerk and our solicitor, and I believe Lori was there. And we were very pleased with what we found for the most part. About 2/3 of our employees are in the range from the mid-range up to the maximum. There are a few that are lower than the range. There are fewer that are higher than the range. But all in all, it was a good study. Now, we did ask them to go back and do a study on benefits also, because we wanted to factor the benefits into this study. So we're waiting on that study now.
And then will that be presented together when they have both components?
I believe so.
Commissioner Pinkerton, are you satisfied with what you've seen so far?
Yes, I am.
Commissioner Eckstein?
With the salary study, you mean?
Yes.
Well, I'm not satisfied at all. People, it wasn't timely. I asked for the report ahead of time to make sure that it was, they said it was ready, then they delayed it for 3 or 4 weeks. I wasn't happy about that, Tom, and I'm not happy at all. And people were excluded from the study. Judy Moser arbitrarily, or the committee decided to just willy-nilly let people opt out. Judy Moser's whole office opted out. I didn't, nobody asked me about that. Amy Wilson's opted out. The solicitors opted out. The other one, Judy Moser, Amy Wilson. In the court system, the law clerks, I believe. Peggy, was it law clerk?
I don't specifically recall.
I can look that up for you, Tom. I believe he opted out. Now, if you have a salary study, why shouldn't every office be treated the same? All the row offices should have been Glenna Walters. Everybody should have been the same. Mike Sloop. I don't see any reason for taking people out of the study. I think that is very bad. We agreed to that. I don't know who approved doing that. It certainly never came across my desk, and it looks bad. Okay? That it looks bad. It also looks bad that I didn't get it in a timely fashion. Jack McMillan's not here, he agreed to that. You can ask him, Tom, what Jack thinks about that.
When did you receive the study?
I apologize, was that about a week and a half ago?
We all received it at the same time on July 29th.
It was presented as a group so that the consultant could answer any questions and present the data. It's a very complex process to do a salary study, and therefore we felt that it was important that everyone hear it at the same time in order to get all their questions answered and proper explanation. Excuse me for speaking out of turn, Mr. Chairman.
Amy, can you respond to Commissioner Eckstein saying there are certain positions and whole offices excluded from this study? Is that correct?
I will be kind of speaking out of hearsay, and so if this is inaccurate, I apologize. I believe Judy Moser chose not to provide information on her employees, and therefore with no data for the consultant to work from, there's no possible way for him to come up with ranges for that particular office. I believe the exclusion of the solicitor and the chief clerk was because they are at-will employees. Correct me if you know differently.
I didn't even know I wasn't in it. So.
Before you know you're ready.
If Kim Geyer were here, okay, I'm sorry, I can't see her. Kim was more directly involved in facilitating the work of the
The chief clerk and the solicitor position are through collective, they're negotiated, their contracts are negotiated between them and the commissioners.
Okay.
We don't technically have a contract, but yes,
Yeah.
the substance of her statement is correct.
Okay. So you're making a distinction between those positions and other administration that's not part of the union? Aren't department heads at-will employees too?
Well, the analyst, the solicitor and the chief clerk were absolved from the study because they make their salary comes from what is negotiated between them and the Board of Commissioners.
As opposed to salary board setting a department head position salary. But isn't that still a salary board vote?
Yes, salary board would set the salary for those two positions. I think we're kind of a unique position in that we are political appointees in a way, where I believe it would be more difficult to remove a department head simply because of a change in administration. That is not the case with the solicitor and the chief clerk.
Right. That could change with every change in the board, potentially. Mike, on when Commissioner was talking about access to time cards, is he correct that this policy, or are we referring to state law as well, that you would have access to that information by law?
And under the People's Right to Know request, everybody's entitled to it.
I'll answer that question.
Yes, please. Yes.
I am aware of no provision of the county code which addresses this situation specifically. So I'm not sure what the commissioner is referring to there. However, the information in general were time records of a county employee, which I agree with the statement that they would be public records under the Right to Know Act. And I'm guessing here. Well, I think there was a misunderstanding about the nature of the information that was requested and its location.
Is Carmine still here?
Yes.
I believe that's, when I talked to you initially about this, that was the case.
Yes.
You said there was a misunderstanding as to what the commissioner was looking for.
Commissioner Eckstein should have had that information available to him. The question is, the best way to get it for him. And the employee's talking about, there's personnel actions that were involved, and I felt that if this is going to get into a legal matter down the road, I would want the commissioner to have the most accurate, updated information. And that might not be in our office, it might be in personnel, where I understand personnel is the formal depository of that data and information. So, that was my initial reaction to his request. And that's why I said if you could check with personnel, and then I understood that the personnel director wasn't there, and I directed him to the solicitor at that point. Because I do not have authority over the personnel department. But if you're going to go into a legal action with employment situations, I would think you would want to turn over the most accurate, updated, validated information. And people do change from time to time. If it's going to be sick leave, annual leave, compensatory time, whatever. So I felt that would be
best place for that, the repository of that information.
And do you have a response to the commissioner claiming that Michelle Green was put up to make this complaint against him?
That's completely, uncalled for. I mean, that's not the case. She had a directive from her director that said, if commissioners request information, I would like you to address that with me, have it addressed with me. And that's why she came over to my office where we were having a meeting, and Mrs. Ainsworth was there.
And not getting into the details, but obviously you stand by the recommendation to terminate the CYS worker, which the commissioner was researching that information. In other words, I think today you reiterated that there was political reasons why that employee was terminated.
Oh, I believe that. I believe that, Chief.
So I don't know who wants to respond to that one, but
I would say we should have no comment on that matter. It is pending.
thank you, Carmine. I guess the chairman might respond to this, and then Mike, I don't know if there's any written policy on this, but from your experience, would commissioners typically go through department heads to seek any information such as this? And not be, in this, such as this case, commissioner going directly to a department head's assistant?
Well, there's no written policy to that effect that I know of. However, it's a common courtesy. You go to the department head or the elected official. If you would walk into the controller's office and go direct to one of his employees, he'd throw you out because it's common courtesy.
And I don't know if you and Commissioner Pinkerton want to respond to a couple of his remarks. Would you agree with Carmine that no one put up Michelle Green to file this complaint?
I'm not aware of anyone putting her up to it.
And I don't know if you want to respond to, Commissioner?
I'd like to, well, I didn't use the word put up. It's a status quo around here. It's like clicks. It's like clicks. They do to gain brownie points. It's more like, I'll do this to stay on your good side. I didn't say they put her up to it. They promote it. That would be a better word. They promote it because they dislike me so much. I mean, that's what the truth is.
So you're not accusing anybody of putting her up. You're saying she did it on her own to score brownie points.
Yeah, go ahead and write, that's true. That's what they do around here. That is the status quo, and it shouldn't be taking place. That is what happens here.
I disagree wholeheartedly with what you're saying. I'm not yelling.
Carmine, you're out of order.
Okay, fine. I said,
Carmine, you're out of order, please. If Tom wants to address you on that, he will.
Yeah, Mr. Scotese, if you want to respond to that.
we have over 100 employees in human services, and it's not our attempt to persuade them to act differently. I mean, she was following a directive from her boss, and that's all she was doing. And we don't put our staff up to those kind of things. I mean, we just don't do those things. It's not proper. And I'm concerned that Mr. Eckstein's presenting that that's like our culture, that we have employees doing that. So I disagree wholeheartedly with that.
And just a follow-up question. When I spoke with Michelle, she said she didn't break down until after he left the room. So she wasn't crying yet, but did you see any signs that she was visibly upset?
Yes, yes. And what Mr. Eckstein did not say in his presentation was there was 2 witnesses. And there were someone from Person, I think it was Lori, had interviewed them. So as far as I know, there was 2 witnesses to that behavior.
Okay. Commissioner?
I'd just like to say about the direct chain of command, if people don't know that it's in the county code, that if you're above an office, a commissioner, anybody in the direct chain of command over it, I don't have to get permission. It's in the county code. I don't have it with me. We'll provide it to you. I'm a little surprised, taken aback here, that people don't know the county code. We're sitting in a room full of people that have a lot more experience than I do. It's in the county code. Peggy looked it up. She's a lawyer. Okay?
It's not the county code, it's personnel relations.
Oh, the county, our county regulations? Okay, not the state county code. Our regulations that govern our county. Tom, sorry, I made a mistake there.
Okay.
Not the state county code. It's our regulations.
Okay, and just,
That might be, but as the
All right.
Human Services
Please.
Director,
Carmine.
when I go talk to the
Carmine.
staff,
just my final question, I don't know if Commissioner McCary or Commissioner Pinkerton want to respond to the Commissioner referring to them as pond scum.
Well, you know, like we used to say, consider the source.
You know,
Commissioner Pinkerton.
I'd kind of like to say that having been in business and supervised almost 35 Goodyear stores for 5 years, worked with, I had more than 150 employees. And I worked for many, many bosses in Goodyear, and I would never, ever, ever have thought going below the head of the department directly to an employee. I just wouldn't, because that's part of what just makes a business run. And our department heads in this county are absolutely great. Our Human Service Department is looked upon, this whole state looks at us and says, how are you doing all those things? And it's because of Carmine and his department heads that that's happened. And I think we have great employees, and I think you need to go through the chain of command, and I would never do that. As a county commissioner or anyone, I would never go directly to an employee, because that's why we have management. And we have to, if we don't believe in our management, okay, then we need to change them. But in my opinion, we have great management staff and great employees in this county, and I think we should run it like a business. And I think that's one of the problems that government has today, is they're not running it like a business. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I'd like to clarify the pond scum comment. I said they're lower than pond scum, and I meant the thickness of pond scum. They're very small. That's what I meant. I said lower than pond scum. Where the neck of the woods I come from, it's being very small. And nothing is worse than accusing me of harassing male lifeguards, 18-year-old. And I mean that. That is not a misquote. Lower than pond scum. Anybody that would call me up and promote you to ask me the question, to ask if I was harassing male young lifeguards during the height of the Jerry Sandusky thing, is terrible. That's a terrible thing. He just terrible. What gets lower than that? What could you do to me lower than that? Okay?
I don't recall the Commissioner calling us about that. I think other people called the newspaper about that.
Well, it happened on a Monday meeting, and you asked.
Why question a question? Because other people informed the newspaper. Commissioner McCarrier just simply answered my question at that meeting. That I don't believe I talked to Commissioner McCarrier or Commissioner McCarrier about that before the meeting. Because I didn't even talk, I don't think I even talked to the people that were claiming you did this.
Well, I asked who did it, and he told me he did it. Okay, he got the information, he got the call. He got the call, the anonymous call that came in, he got the call, okay? I think that is lower than pond scum. If anybody wants to, you know, what is good about that? Huh, Tom, you know, I mean, he's making that, I have a family, I have a wife and 3 kids. Who would do such a far-fetched thing? Would I do it to him with no evidence? That is terrible. A lot of people in here, they're smiling and stuff. How would you like to be accused of molesting a child or a teenager? I don't think you could do anything worse to me as an individual to make an accusation like that. There is nothing lower. Okay, that is the worst there is. You know, what do they do in prison when you go in and you abuse a child? They hurt you or kill you. That's what they do. Even the criminals think it's the worst. Okay? And that's what he's doing to me. It's terrible. Okay? As far as, and I just like to say this is important to me, Tom. I blacked out those forms because I have a law under county code. I don't have to get their approval to go to school, and I don't have to get their approval to go to classes. It's under county code, and I'll show it to you, state law. That's why I do that, because they're gonna stop me from doing it, okay? Why should I be required to fill out right to know requests? I'm the county commissioner. I do it because they're breaking the law if they don't do it. I asked Joyce Ainsworth for information 10 days ago. She wouldn't give it to me. Right away, I filed it in 5 days. I filed a people's right to know request. Why is the county commissioner of Butler County required to file people right to know requests? Because they won't give it to me. Okay, and they can't violate the law. What I'm doing is a technicality.
The information wasn't available. She told you that in an email.
That.
Thank you, that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, the meeting's over.